I promised you the secret method that no one is using to get top grades on an inspector calls, and I'm feeling so relaxed and mellow on holiday that I'm going to give you two. Stick to the end of the video. You will be used to the explanation that the play is, of course, about capitalism and profit, but everyone is going to be writing about that. You will also be used to the idea that it is about class, but everyone is going to be writing about that. But what you won't be used to is thinking about the play as an attack on war. Remember the inspector's final words about learning the lesson in fire and blood and anguish. This is where my two trees are going to be vital to my visual metaphor. One here, one here. I've chosen them not because there are two, but because they are identical. Let's think about the ending of the play. We begin with the death of Eva Smith, one tree. Gerald comes back and says there's no inspector. He rings the infirmary, there is no dead girl. But at the end, there is another phone call and there is another dead girl. An identical occurrence. The beginning becomes the end. What on earth was Priestley up to? What does Eva represent? She represents the two world wars. He sets the play in 1912. Why? He could have set it in 1939 or 1944 if it was just about class or just about capitalism. But no, he sets it in 1912 because that is just before the First World War, and the play is produced in 1945, the end of the Second World War. Well, what does that mean? I'm going to illustrate it with two ashtrays. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Death, you get the metaphor. So by ending the play in this way and setting it in 1912, Priestley is saying, look, the cause of the First World War is the same as the cause of Eva's death. Remember the tree. The cause of the Second World War is the same as the cause of the second phone call announcing there's been a death. What's he getting at? So Priestley is saying capitalism is selfish. Males in this society are selfish, but that selfishness will lead to profit, and that will lead to war. Profit is increased in times of war, especially for businessmen like Burling and Croft, who are selling clothing. Think of the uniforms, think of the destruction, think of the need for even more uniforms. Ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. So Priestley's point is if we don't move to a socialist government, if we keep these capitalists in political power, they will keep thrusting us forward into war. And so, the most important message in the play is the inspector's final words. That's why they are his final words. Priestley is saying, pay attention to this: fire and blood and anguish. That is the main message of the play. It is anti-war, and being anti-capitalist and anti-the class system is just a vehicle to get him there. And to an audience that's just lived through a Second World War, no message could have more meaning or more power. Why does Priestley portray the victimization of women when he's producing the play in 1945? Because the males are largely still away at war. The women at home are in the audience. They're now employed. They have the vote. They want a better future for themselves. And so these two words, patriarchal society, are going to propel you into the top grades, because Priestley is protesting against the male dominance of patriarchal society, which destroys the lives of women just as it destroyed the life of Eva, and just as that is a metaphor for the tragedy of World War I, the double tragedy of World War II. Isn't history awesome? So if you would like to learn how to master writing about uninspector calls, I am offering a masterclass, link in the description. If you don't fancy the masterclass, then this is the video to help with your revision next. What am I talking about? Watch the video anyway, it's brilliant.